by grace you are saved through faith, and not of yourselves, the gift of God. Verse 9, not of works, lest any man should boast. Now, my question is, please don't give me a wrong philosophical interpretation. I don't need to be offensive, I've asked this question before, and often the answer I get is a long explanation of the relationship between faith and action. That's not my question. The question is, does God take into account actions when judging people? Because according to Ephesians, he doesn't. According to James, he does. To give another example, can I just give like 3 or 4 questions?
Well, we'll take them one by one. I'll give you quick answers, and then we'll take them one by one. So the question was, in James chapter 2, verse 24, James says, right into his volume is there, James says, you see that a man is justified by works and not by faith only. And in Ephesians, which is another letter written by another author in Christianity, Apostle Paul, Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8 and 9, for by grace you have been saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God, not of works, lest anyone should boast. And so there's an apparent contradiction there. The simple answer is, I think you need to read James in context, and you need to read Ephesians in context, and understand what they're addressing. So James is addressing the false claim. I think Muslims will understand this to be a false claim too, of someone saying they're really believers, but their lives are not conforming to it. So they say that I am a Christian, and then to live in any wanton and lewd and sinful way, or in James' case, not in fact do good deeds, would be false. It would be a false confession of being a Christian. And Paul would say, so the converse related, he's sort of looking at it from a different angle. He says, basically, in context, that don't tell me you're a Christian because of your deeds, because faith is essential. We're saved by grace through faith. If you read the next verse in Ephesians 2, I think you see Paul and James coming very much in line. So Paul says in Ephesians 2, verse 10, for we are his, meaning God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. And so Christianity is unanimous in its view that we're saved through grace, or we're saved by grace, God's gracious act. None of us deserves to be saved. And we're saved through the medium of faith in Jesus Christ. And if our faith is real, it will result in good works.
See, my dear friend, this is the exact point which I said. What you've done is you've given me an explanation of how faith should produce good works.
Okay.
But that wasn't my question.
Okay.
My question is not, will faith, should faith produce good works? Should believing in Jesus or Muhammad or Moses, should he have good faith? Should he live a decent life? I think all religions, and Paul and James are all in agreement on that. The key difference between James and Paul is a very small one, and yet a very big one. It's the question of when being judged by God. God will not call us to account or judge us according to actions. He will judge people according to their faith in Jesus. Now, I have read indeed not only the whole of Ephesians, but all the New Testament letters. And Paul makes it very, very clear all the way throughout Galatians, Corinthians, that works must not be called to account by God when it comes to salvation. Why? Because Paul's argument all the way throughout the New Testament is that there is no longer an obedience required to the law to how one slaughters the animals, all of that stuff. If you want to do it, fine. If you don't do it, you're not sinful, says Paul. Okay, why? Because his belief is that one is no longer justified through actions. One is justified only through faith. Now that clearly contradicts what James says, in that you are justified not by faith alone, but by works. That is my question.
This is a great question. I'm sorry I didn't answer it clearly the first time. James and Paul were agreed. The reason I answered it the way I did is because they're answering two different questions. So for James, the idea of works is simply an authentication of faith. It's the evidence that your faith is real. All the New Testament scripture, and in fact all of the Old Testament, it prophesies the new covenant, prophesies that we will stand before God in a righteousness, not our own, but a righteousness alien to us, that what is necessary is perfection before God, who himself is fully imperfect. And the only perfection we get in terms of standing before God at the bar of judgment is the perfection we get from Christ through faith. And many people read that passage and struggle with contradiction, but the key thing to remember is that answering different questions. And if you want to go to Acts, for example, and look at the council in Jerusalem, where they took this very question on, they responded, and it's by faith. It's through grace by faith that we're saved. So I think the church has been universal.
I don't want to go on and on,
but you have at least one other example.
You've already answered the question. I understand you're giving me your understanding of it, but I mean, still the question that remains in my mind: is one judged by God according to works alone, faith alone, or works in faith alone? But then that contradicts what James said.
No, but what you're not acknowledging is I'm telling you about the context of James.
That context, everyone reads it differently. See, I mean, if I ask Unitarian Christians, if I ask Trinitarian Christians, if I ask many different sects of Christianity, each one gives me what he understands.
And if I talk to a Shia, if I talk to a Sunni, if I talk to a Sufi, I would give different sort of interpretations. The key isn't that people interpret it differently. What we really have to ask ourselves is what is the
mindset. Everyone has their own interpretation. That's why I try to put interpretation aside and say, look, only the Bible rather than your interpretation or my interpretation. Anyway, another issue, I feel a lot of what you're supposed to.
Sir, I think we'd like to hear some more questions by Sheikh Tahir Khalid.
As a question at all, I'm sure you want to respond to a lot of what I'm saying. So. Sorry, we can talk later.
Does anyone have a question addressed to Sheikh Tahir Khalid? Just to create a